big truck going by. Woo! We're here with Crystal, Watley County.
You can't hear through the truck. You gotta wait. That's why you gotta cut it.
Okay, but we will. But maybe not. Maybe this will be a good part. Now, she wants to talk about where?
Well, just let me talk. I've done this before.
I'm going pee.
Go ahead. Except for other people. It's better if you ask me, if you help me with questions, but I'll be fine.
But first off, explain what you want to say.
My name is Crystal Watley Kigoni, and I run an organization called Voices of Africa. Voices of Africa was established to bring information and communications to those who don't have it. Those in places like Dadaab. Our current Dadaab project is actually to put a wireless network across the entire refugee camp to allow for the refugees to be able to communicate with the world about their lives. We see news on infrequent basis, especially when the crisis is particularly bad, but we don't actually understand what are the deeper underpinnings. And when I say we, I'm talking about the American public, that the typical person in a developed country who lives to pay the rent and has to pay their bills, who wants a certain standard of living. These people just want to live. We're also working on a project to bring fiber optic cable to Kibera. Kibera is the biggest slum in Kenya, actually the biggest in Africa. And there's over 2 million people who live there who don't have access to good information, communications, news about the world. It's necessary, if they're going to be affected by the rest of the world, which our global economy does, that they have the power and potential to understand the world in as many dimensions as we do. I think that if there was ever a time when we all needed to be able to communicate as one unified body, it's now. And this would empower people in the remotest regions with the Spark, which is the solar-powered advanced rural communicator. What we do is we put those in rural villages. We're scheduled to do a rollout of 50. They are actually finally finished with production in Dubai, and they will be landing in Kenya in March. In the meantime, we'll be doing monitoring and evaluation, we'll be doing baseline studies, and we'll be assessing the information needs of the people. I have a lot of hope in this. And the people who participate, they have a lot of hope in this. My researchers are from the areas where they're researching. They have a vested interest. But it's a vested interest in something that's better. It's something that's higher, something that uplifts their lives. And it's not about aid, it's not about a package or a band-aid. It's about enabling people to move, to be free. And I think that's what the developed world has tried to be all about with their wave of democracy. And I think it's high time that Africa has that opportunity too. God bless.
No, you said questions. I'm giving you a question.
Now you want me to do questions?
Well, because you said no band-aids, but you'll accept all the band-aids you can get for the help that you've been doing at the refugee camps in Somalia.
But what we're doing is training. We're providing them we're just getting to the point where we can start providing internet and information, and that's where we're at.
Okay, but what did you do there? What kind of issue did you create to go and help the Somali people through your voicesofafrica.org?
Well, wow. I felt really drawn to Dadaab in particular for about a year, and I didn't have the team required. And then we got this great volunteer named Scott, and he went into the field, and he had a post-UK military experience in telecommunications in disaster zones and war zones all over the world. And he came and he went with us, and he provided my personal security. I'm very thankful. once we got there, I took medicines. I thought that that would probably be the most immediate need. And what I found was that there are a lot of people trying to provide services, but the approach wasn't right. It didn't actually build the people up. It wasn't an empowerment kind of attachment to the situation. UNHCR has actually just recently said that they're changing their policies to include more refugee workers in the processes, which is really, I think, sustainable and a good choice. I realized the greatest need in this place was for communications and for information. They needed education. They needed books to read. They needed the basics of those types of things so that they could provide themselves with employment. They could provide themselves with the basics that they need to move on and to survive somewhere else. Because quite frankly, a lot of these refugees will not be able to go back anytime soon, and they can't continue to live in the location where they are in Kenya. It really is a crisis issue. So, you know, we would really ask immigration of very many countries to help. It was the hardest thing I ever did in terms of like being emotionally stressful, from villages to slums, anything else. It was really challenging. But I also found an inner strength that I didn't know I had.
Okay, so now that you're in America, how are you helping still the mission of your experience there?
Our organization sponsors refugees. We need help, of course, with their sponsors. We sponsor refugees who are living outside of the camp in Kenya. We also sponsor refugees inside of the camp. And what this sponsorship is for is either employment skills training or self-employment. So that's what we do. And then we also send small things, like when they weren't able to deliver food supplies because there was some insecurity there. We actually sent milk through a grassroots network system into the camps, where they bought from local people the milk that they needed, and they fed it to the new kids who had just gotten to the camp in the ward who hadn't been eating. And milk was a particularly beautiful treat, and yeah, we did that for Christmas.
And you did it how? By selling?
Oh, and we did that by selling stickers at the mall and downtown with my children, because they felt like that was the best thing that they could do for Christmas is to give milk to refugee kids.
So, do you think your goals and plans are succeeding themselves as they usually do?
Well, I came back to the United States to register an NGO, and like, not an NGO. The idea is that we've been working small in Kenya because of our limited resources. Our limited resources have really held us back. So the plan was to come to America and to register a charity here, which is now registered in North Carolina and will soon be federally registered. And the purpose of that charity is to provide the management of the funds, to help with donations and grant writing, because having an organization in America is a lot more powerful in terms of donations than having one in Kenya. And it's tax deductible. Gotta love that.
Yeah, gotta love that. I agree there. So, as far as you know, as far as things are, you're just continually coming up with ideas
We're
and
strategizing.
processes to complete your missions. Well, I commend you.
I'm taking a break to re-strategize, to put everything back in order, to build a new organization. I'm not actually taking a break. I'm just in America under an entirely different set, and I feel most productive and, quite frankly, happy in Kenya. My family loves it, and We have a huge family there. And we love them. All of them.
Alright, that's 10 minutes.
That's good.
Alright, so sayonara.
Thank you very much. The website is www.voicesofafrica.org. The U.S. telephone number is 828-407-9561. And the email that you would want to write to is innovation@voicesofafrica.org. And if you would like to send a PayPal donation, we'd love that. And that is to give hope a child at voicesofafrica.org. Thank you. God bless. And here's a word I don't really know. Oh, I can't do it. Thanks to God. In any language you can think of.
All gods, whichever god it is.